Hi, I'm going to have a really attempt at doing a quick blog here, which never goes well. I normally just ramble. Um, because I was actually planning on blogging about something else and got a bit sidetracked. So let me explain this to you. I was going to do a blog about musicals that I'm not keen on. Because I feel like everybody thinks that I just love every musical, completely just blanket, no idea about whether I like film or stage musicals or what kind of musicals, because there's so many out there. Everybody just thinks that I love everything. And I do love most things, let's be fair. However, there are some musicals that I don't particularly like. And I was going to do a blog about musicals that I had never really warmed to before. And then I kind of started rambling quite a lot about one particular musical. And that musical is Sunset Boulevard. And the reason why I always get a bit cross about Sunset Boulevard as a musical is because I really, really love the film. And I sort of started ranting about that quite a lot. So I thought I'd do a separate kind of vlog about why Sunset Boulevard, the film, is so much superior to Sunset Boulevard as a musical. And there are many, many reasons. So first things first, it's just so much more biting to have the film than the musical. I think the musical distills things quite a lot, and you lose some of the essence and some of the aggression that the film really has. And there are lots of reasons for that. And one of the reasons is in the words. So a lot of lines in Sunset Boulevard are quite famous. You will have undoubtedly seen a clip at some point in your life of Gloria Swanson as Norma Desmond saying, "I'm ready for my close-up." Or you'll have heard somebody say it, and it'll have been referenced in some TV show that you will have seen, or in a film that you will have seen. And there are also lines like, "We didn't need words, we had faces." And so much kind of bite and aggression goes into them. And I once watched a version of Sunset Boulevard the musical on YouTube, which I grant you is not the same thing as seeing it live. There's nothing like seeing anything live. And those lines were sung. It's a musical where everything is sung. There's not really any dialogue except for little snippets in between scenes. And I just didn't feel it. You know, I didn't get that Norma was angry or that Norma was feeling a particular way when she was saying them. They just kind of got lost in the rhythm of the song and lost amongst the other lyrics of the song. There was nothing to say, this is a really standout line that you're going to need to think about here. Whereas in the film, it's edited in such a way that you hear that line and you think, ooh, yeah, that hits something. That's got a bit of something behind it. So it kind of just gets washed over a little bit. A lot of the really important lines in the film that really speak about the theme of the film. So that gets lost a bit for me. Bit unhappy about that. One of the other reasons why I don't really like the musical, and it is genuinely nobody's fault, there is nothing anybody can do about it, is the casting. And I get quite cross about casting, and I'm like, why have they cast this person? Should have had such and such a person, or stunt casting, what's that about? You need to have this, that and the other person, or the understudy's better, and all that palaver that I normally get quite on my high horse about. This is genuinely one of those times where you can't do anything about my feelings on this. So I love the film Sunset Boulevard because the cast are incredible. So it's not even just that they are like star-studded or anything like that. It is because the casting in Sunset Boulevard was done so perfectly. So you've got Norma Desmond, okay? She is like the washed-up film star who really can't accept that her kind of light has faded. She can't accept that her career's over. She thinks that she has all these fans that write to her day in, day out, and she's desperate to make her comeback. But she hates the word comeback because she never really went away in her mind. And in the film, she is played by Gloria Swanson. Now, Gloria Swanson was a huge star, a huge star in the silent era. And when the kind of talkies came, even though she had like a lovely speaking voice, because a lot of the stars didn't have a lovely speaking voice. If you've ever seen Singing in the Rain, a lot of them sounded like Lena Lemon, okay? Or had a really thick foreign accent, or what have you. Gloria Swanson didn't suffer from any of that, but her career just kind of faded anyhow because there was these new stars that kind of overtook her. And she basically, at the height of her fame, had a solid gold bathtub to have a bath in. And at the low point of her fame, she was selling clothes that she'd like slapped her name to like on TV in New York. She was basically doing QVC presenting before QVC presenting was a thing. You know how stars nowadays, like Paris Hilton and all these people that are sort of not really famous for anything anymore, have perfume lines or clothes lines and stuff like that. That was essentially what Gloria Swanson was doing back in the 40s, which is just crazy. We all think that trying to cling on to fame is quite a new construct, and it's completely not. Gloria Swanson was doing that crap like 70, 80 years ago now. Yeah, so really, really interesting that that's where she came from. And basically when Billy Wilder was looking for kind of this washed up performer and washed up actress, he went round a load of washed up actresses. So he went to Greta Garbo, who had famously retired. He went to Mary Pickford, who he walked into the room and after about 30 seconds just went, "No, you're too nice for this, we can't do this to you, you're not right for it." And then he went to see Gloria Swanson, who, my understanding is she basically snapped his hand off and said, "I want back in, get me back into Hollywood," which I think he knew then probably meant that she was absolutely bang up right for the role. This was a woman that wanted desperately to be back on the Hollywood screen, wanted desperately to make her return, wanted desperately to kind of not accept that her star had fallen. Heard that before? You know, Norma Desmond is Gloria Swanson. It was an absolutely impeccable piece of casting there. You've also then got as kind of the love interest, if you like. I don't know if you really want to call him a love interest. It's just a bit of a slimy fellow that kind of takes advantage of her a little bit, I guess. And he is Joe Gillis, who was played by William Holden. Now, William Holden, at one point, I'm not even sure if it was at the time, was having an affair with Barbara Stanwyck, who was an older woman, very well-to-do, been quite big in the silent era. She was still very big through talkies and through a little bit into colour, actually. But yeah, he was basically having an affair with her, and you know, she was an older woman supporting him after an initial success that he'd had, and then he decided to just, you know, die a death in terms of Hollywood stardom. That's Joe Gillis. Joe Gillis very much moves in on Norma to keep his head above water in terms of he is running out of cash, he's running out of ideas as a writer, and he just needs someone to support him. Again, very, very apt. Even the chauffeur, Eric von Stroheim, playing him, he was in fact a film director. And when the chauffeur Max says that he worked with Madame and was her first husband and everything, even though he wasn't married to Gloria Swanson, he actually directed her in a film called Queen Kelly, which it's kind of suggested that that was the film that did for Gloria Swanson's career, basically. It was too long, it was too drawn out. Apparently Eric von Stroheim fell in love with one of the supporting actors on set and basically gave her all the screen time and just edited it into like a 4-hour epic rather than cut anything out that had this woman that he was now obsessed with in there. And even if it meant that it contradicted everything that was going on with Gloria Swanson's character, he put her in regardless. And it tanked, and it ruined both of them. So now here they are, stuck in the house on Sunset Blvd. And it's too true. I think that's why any other attempts to make that film doesn't really work, because it's not true. It's not got that level of bite. It's not got Gloria Swanson going, "I want back into Hollywood, please." It's not got William Holden desperately needing a role or all his cash will dry up. Anything else cannot have that level of verisimilitude in it. Even the kind of supporting actors, you know, I love to call him a supporting actor really, but they go to the film studio to see Cecil B. DeMille they think it's about a film that Norma's written for herself. And they get to the studio and lo and behold, Cecil B. DeMille is playing Cecil B. DeMille. And he directed Gloria Swanson at the height of her career and used to call her, you know, young fella or whatever he called her. That was the actual nickname that they had. And it must have been really hard for Gloria Swanson to know that everything that was going on in the film was her actual life at that point. That must have been really, really difficult, but it makes for a brilliant film. It's fascinating. Even the friends that she has round to go play cards on, Friday night or whatever night it is. There's Buster Keaton sat there, like actual Buster Keaton, absolutely amazing physical actor. If you've ever seen that clip where there's a man stood there and the facade of the house falls down and he happens to be stood in the window, that's Buster Keaton. That is one of the actual staples of the silent era, that shot. That's one of the most recognisable things about cinema of that time for me. So to have all these people in it, it really does make you believe that these people are real. It just makes you believe that Norma is Norma. And of course this is the life that's going on. Because actually it was the life that was going on for Gloria Swanson and probably a lot of other of her peers, really. So yeah, it rings very true. Which is why the film gets it so right and the musical can't reach it. Because for me, when I watch Sunset Boulevard online, yeah, you've got these amazing actors, and there was a lot of amazing performances in it, don't get me wrong. Voices were incredible and everything. But what you have is a woman playing Gloria Swanson playing Norma Desmond. It's almost like a caricature. It's a bit like, when you get roles that are so iconic and so memorably played by somebody that no actor that goes after them can play it any other way but as a version of them. It's like if you've ever seen anyone play Fagin in Oliver, for example. They are not playing Fagin, they are playing Ron Moody playing Fagin. Or, oh God, I don't know. Like, to a lesser extent, if you watch Annie, you are watching someone playing Carol Burnett, playing Miss Hannigan. There's quite a lot of roles out there that it's really, really difficult to move away from. The King and I, you're always playing Yul Brynner. But yeah, it's one of those things that you're always watching somebody playing Gloria Swanson playing Norma Desmond, whereas Gloria Swanson didn't have to try. This was her. So it feels a lot smoother in the film than it does on the musical. You're also never going to get Cecil B. DeMille on stage because he's dead. That's just not going to happen. So yeah, that kind of lacks a little bit of bite in there for me. And also I was thinking, the time that you're watching it is important, which is not something that normally bothers me because I love Les Mis and Phantom. I have never found myself in 19th century Paris, for example, but I love them. However, I think timing is very important on Sunset Boulevard because a lot of people watching that film would have had quite a strong memory of the silent era. So the film came out in 1950, and The Jazz Singer, which is regarded as the first talkie, came out in 1927. So that's only 23 years difference, which got me to thinking that I think Toy Story came out in like 1995, which is 23 years ago. So it'd be like making a film set in the era that Toy Story was filmed in. Everybody remembers that. I remember that, and I was only like 6. So yeah, it's very much about people and a time that were in people's living memory. Whereas obviously now we're a long way past that. There aren't really that many people around that would remember talkies coming out. There just aren't. It's like, what, 90 years ago. Even, very, very elderly people would be lucky to kind of have any memory around that time. So it doesn't really have the level of bite. You don't really have that level of understanding. It's like if a film now came out and really was really horrifically aggressive about something that happened in 1995, we'd all go, I remember that, that's a bit near the knuckle. It'd be like, for example, and this is slightly further back, it'd be like if we made a film now where we ripped it and was really, really savage and brutal about Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton. It's that sort of time frame. And we could do it and it'd make people go, that's what Sunset Boulevard did, and that's why it works, because it's not even about the film necessarily, it's about the reaction that it creates in you, and the musical just lacks that. And I don't think there's a formula for why a musical can work, and I think that's what makes it so tricky, and that's what makes it worth a punt, if you like, almost. I mean, on paper, Les Mis shouldn't work. on paper, Phantom shouldn't work. Not by a long chalk, but it does. And while I say there isn't a formula, I think there are a set of rules that you should live by. And one of those rules is, if crucial to the success and meaning of your piece is that you need Cecil B. DeMille or any other man that has been dead for quite a long time to step onto your stage and play himself, I reckon you're going to be out of luck, to be quite honest. Probably just make something else.